The Islamic Empire existed from the 600s until less than 100 years ago. Our knowledge of history is so slim and so small and so almost nil. We do not understand what we're dealing with. We do not understand why our enemy is fighting us. They not only want the elimination of Israel, they want the elimination of our Judeo-Christian value system and of the West in general in order to bring back the Islamic Caliphate and conquer the world. Now, what are they doing and how they are doing it? The Muslim Brotherhood wrote a plan in 1982. It's a 100-year plan for radical Islam to infiltrate and dominate the West and establish an Islamic government on earth. In the counter-terrorism circles, this plan became known as the Project. In the project, they discussed tactics and proposals as to how to infiltrate the West, how to set up non-profit organizations and maintain the appearance of moderation in order to advance radical Islamic agenda in the West. They talk about how to work with like-minded progressive organizations in the West that share a similar goal. They talk about how to get Muslim interns in political offices in all levels in the West to sway opinion. They talk about how to get Muslims on the boards of Republican parties and Democratic parties so they can have a voice in swaying the decision of that party, whether conservative or liberal. They talk about how to get democratically elected Muslims into all levels in the Western government. They began implementing their plan in Europe in 1982. When you look at Europe today, Europe is no longer Europe. Europe has become Eurabia. As I am speaking to you right now, in Europe, in Britain alone, there are 85 Islamic Sharia courts operating parallel to British courts. I am sure if you would have stopped a British man 20 years ago on the streets of London and told him, do you know that 20 years from now, you're going to have a different legal system completely opposed to your democratic system, he would have told you, you're crazy. That's what's happening in England today. In France alone, there are over 725 no-go zones. These are Islamic zones where the police is even afraid to enter. Europe is no longer the Europe that you knew or your parents knew 20 or 30 years ago. Why are we so concerned in America? Because what's happening in Europe is nothing but a preview as to what's coming to the United States. They wrote the plan for the United States in 1991, the Muslim Brotherhood. Here is the plan. This plan was presented as evidence in the Holy Land Foundation trial in Dallas, Texas, in 2007, the largest ever terrorism trial in the history of the United States against an Islamic charity, where we handed down 180 guilty verdict, and 108, not 180, guilty verdict on terrorism charges. Here is this plan. It says مذكرة تفسيرية للهدف الاستراتيجي العام للجماعة في أمريكا الشمالية, written in 1991. What is so concerning about the plan, this is how to destroy America from within and how to set up an infrastructure in the United States, not a military infrastructure. We know Al-Qaeda is a military arm. We know those organizations want to attack us militarily. But this is the stealth jihad or the cultural structure to topple down the United States. The most important page of this document is the last page, because it lists 29 front Islamic radical organizations operating in the United States as a front for the Muslim Brotherhood. The top one is ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America. Many of you have heard of ISNA because they are now advisors to President Obama about Middle East policy. And you wonder why the president is so eager to throw Israel under the bus, or already threw Israel under the bus? It is shameful, shameful. The second organization is the Muslim Student Association, the MSA. The Muslim Student Association has more chapters today on American college campuses than the Democrats and the Republicans combined. And we wonder where anti-Semitism and anti-Americanism is coming from? While we were asleep, our enemy has been organizing for years. The Muslim Student Association right now has such influence on American college campuses that if you are a pro-Israel speaker or a pro-America speaker, you will have to have security fit for a president to be able to deliver a speech on a college campus because of the Muslim Student Association and how organized they are and how hateful they are. Number 8 on the list is NATE, the North American Islamic Trust. They control the majority of mosques in the United States. Number 22 on the list is the Muslim Association for Palestine, which later morphed into CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is a front for Hamas in the United States. They are now the ones who you see on television all the time talking about Middle East affairs. And they are the ones who are invited to the White House to the iftar dinner and being catered to and speak at the Pentagon and at the State Department and everywhere else. This is what is so dangerous right now happening in America. It's not only the military threat that we are worried about. We know they are trying to attack us militarily. But this is the insidious threat that we are worried about. And I'm going to touch on education and how they are attacking us with the education. Part of the Muslim Brotherhood, part of this plan, is how to infiltrate every segment of our society in order to destroy America from within and create a generation that hates America from within. They have a media department, an educational department, a political department, a writers department, Islamic education department, intellectual think tank departments on every level. I'm going to touch now on our universities and how systematically they have tried this strategy to destroy our universities. I call our universities occupied territories because if you have a child in an American college campus right now, especially if it's an Ivy League university, you know exactly why I call it occupied territories. We have lost our universities. They're brainwashing our children. So how are they brainwashing our children and why? The Saudis, because of the oil wealth, started pumping millions into our universities, setting up Middle East study department and political science departments, setting up Arab professors who are anti-Israel and anti-America to basically brainwash our students. They are using, this is how they're doing it, they are using a loophole in our laws called the Title VI program. The Title VI program was instituted by our government after World War II to educate American students about foreign languages and foreign cultures, especially those who want to get into the CIA and the State Department and diplomatic field so they can be an asset to our country. That's how the Saudis are able to use that program to funnel millions into our universities and set up this Middle East Study Department and Political Science Department. King Fahd of Saudi Arabia donated $20 million to set up a Middle East Study Department at the University of Arkansas. $5 million donated to Berkeley's Middle East Study Department for 2 Saudi sheikhs linked to Al-Qaeda. Harvard received $22.5 million. Georgetown, $28.3 million. 11 million to Cornell, 5 million to MIT, 1.5 million to Texas A&M, 1 million to Princeton. Rutgers received 5 million share endowment, as did Columbia, who tried to lie to conceal the source of the funds. I can go on and on and on and on and on with many universities, from the Ivy League to the community colleges and everything in between. We pump the gas and they pump poison into the hearts and minds of our future generation, and that's why we must become energy independent and stop our dependence on oil.